I want to bring in our London correspondent, Jonathan Sacerdoti. Jonathan, great to have you. So Theresa May has repeatedly rejected calls from her Conservative Party for an early vote. Even today, when speaking, she used the word reluctantly a few times. What pushed her over the edge to make this call?
We can only assume that what pushed her over the edge were the stratospherically high polling figures that she will have seen over the weekend. And then immediately after today's announcement that she wants to call an early snap general election, there was another poll which showed her riding even higher and the Labour Party 1 point down. Just to put this in perspective, currently the Conservative Party in polling is doing better than the next three parties combined. That means that she has the prospect of increasing her majority in the House of Commons to one unseen by a Conservative government since the 80s, and she'll also be in a very strong position to negotiate as she wishes in those Brexit negotiations coming up.
Just a question. I mean, obviously those opinion polls are pretty strong. It's a very strong lead, but is anybody looking at this as a risky move? Because the UK should know better than anyone else to expect the unexpected and not necessarily to trust the polls.
And not just the UK, you're quite right. We've all learnt over 2016 that polling is not that reliable and not necessarily a good indicator of how people are actually going to behave when they reach the ballot box. That said, the polling figures that show Mrs May leading quite so strongly reflect a reality that people recognise here. Jeremy Corbyn is seen as one of the weakest Labour Party leaders for some time by the people in his own party. The parliamentary members of the Labour Party last year held a vote of no confidence in him and had a leadership election, which he then won again due to the quirks of how the Labour Party elects its leader. But his own MPs don't have confidence in him, which means that Mrs May again will have looked at the situation, not just the polling, and decided that she faced very little opposition from the Labour Party, and that again this might be a good opportunity for her to actually extend her time in power. But it is a gamble. Whenever you go to the polls, the people have their say, and the Brexit election, the referendum last June, shows just that. David Cameron, the Conservative Prime Minister before her, believed that Britain would vote the EU, and that ended up not being correct, and he ended up leaving his job.
Right, a big gamble taken by the previous Prime Minister. A good point.